Sure. Okay, so I will be guided by this outline. We'll look at the concept of the environment. We'll look at the component of the environment. And then we'll look at the man and the environment and the impact of man on the component of the environment. Then lastly, we'll talk about how we can care for the environment. So the environment is gotten from the French word environner, and this means to surround. So the environment is simply defined as anything that surrounds us. So basically, environment is everything around us in time and in space. This can also be defined as the aggregate of all the circumstances, people, things, and events around us that influence our life in time and in space. Basically, our environment is everything around us. And by time and space, we mean that sometimes the component of our environment varies based on our location. For example, where I am now, the component of everything that surrounds me here at my physical environment may be different from in the next hours or in the next days when I move to another my environment may be totally. So basically, environment is everything around us that also influence us in time and in space. And if you look at the picture we have here, we have this is the typical the various components here. We could see the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, and the lithosphere. So these are the components of the environment, and we'll talk about this in detail as we move ahead. So component of the environment, like we saw in the previous slide, we have the hydrosphere, that is water. We have the lithosphere, which is the hard or soil and the rock, the hard part of the environment. And then we have the biosphere, which is the living part of the environment. The atmosphere, this is the layer of gas that surrounds the earth. Atmosphere simply means air, and it contains gases like nitrogen, oxygen, argon, carbon dioxide, water vapor, with particles of some dust and soot. However, the two major gases in the environment are oxygen, which is about 21%, and nitrogen, which is 78%. The atmosphere, which is the air, it provides us with the oxygen for respiration as living things. And then all living things that are including plants and animals will require this oxygen for survival at some point or the other. As man, we breathe in this oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide. And the animals, they take in this carbon dioxide and they give us oxygen. So for the survival of both plant and animal, oxygen, which is the air, which is a component of the air, constituent of the atmosphere, is very important for the
Good evening, ma.
development and the. Good evening, sir.
I've not gotten it yet. Oh. I'm going to go to the market that's big.
Okay, I think that is so. We go to the next component, which is hydrosphere. So hydrosphere simply means water, and this include the surface, both the surface water and its surrounding boundaries. Water is the most abundant substance on the earth's surface, and we use water. It's very important and essential for life. We use water at home, we use them for our day-to-day activities, agricultural purposes, recreational purpose. We drink water, and even our body, the human body, comprises of a high percentage of water. Now, there are various sources of water. We have the surface water, with example like the lakes and the river. We have the groundwater, we have spring water, we have well, and then we have rainwater. So hydrosphere, which is water, is another component of the environment that surrounds us in time and space. So we go to the third part, that is lithosphere. Lithosphere is like the solid shell of the earth, is the soil and the rocks. Lithosphere is the outer layer of the solid earth, and it lays in between the atmosphere and the hydrosphere. Lithosphere is the solid rocky part of the earth's crust. And the soil is a very important component for all living things to create their homes. We could see that we erect our structures, our homes on the soil, and plants grows in the soil. Also, groundwater in the soil also provide potable water for drinking and other purposes, for farming and other domestic and industrial activities. So aside from providing the required support, soil is very important, is an very important part of the environment, because it also provides us with for drinking and other purposes. So we go to the next component of the environment, which is the biosphere. So we talked about the atmosphere, we have talked about the hydrosphere, we talked about atmosphere, we've talked about the lithosphere, and the fourth component of the environment is the biosphere. Biosphere is all life form, is all the zones on the earth in which life is present. So from the word bio, basic biology, SAS, which is the study of life. Bios means life. So every component of the environment that has life in it is the biosphere. Okay, so the entire living thing of the earth, including woman, it's the biotic component of the environment. These consist of all living things like plants, animals, and small microorganisms like the bacteria, the fungi, the virus. This biotic environment work together with the abiotic environment to form the various ecosystem. Like we have the marine ecosystem, we have the forest ecosystem, the pond ecosystem, the desert ecosystem, and all this ecosystem, there is basically the interaction between man is between man, which is living, and other non-living parts of the environment. That is basically what refers to as the ecosystem. All right, so just a brief recap of the environment as everything that surrounds us, and the various components of the environment, like the hydrosphere, the lithosphere, the biosphere, and the atmosphere. Okay, so I go to man and the environment. Like I said, there is an interaction between man and the environment in which we refer to as the ecosystem. And although these two entities, man and the environment, they exist as different entities, but they need and depend on each other for survival. Man gets his shelter, his food, raw materials of economic importance from the environment. And the environment depends on man also for protection against any form of destruction. So we see that there is a strong interaction among them. And this study of such interaction is known as ecology. That is, ecology is the study of the interaction between man and the environment, which is the ecosystem that I have mentioned before. Now, human adversely impact the environment due to its own needs and interests. What do we mean by this? As man, we need to man. There is need for shelter. We need to depend or exploit some of the environmental resources to meet our daily needs. So in the process of doing this, we tend to uh, impact the environment adversely by exploitation of, for example, by exploitation of natural resources. We go to the forest to cut, to fell the trees in the process of trying to stabilize our homes or roads for building. What we do is we alter the natural landscape of the environment, so we modify it to suit our own purpose. Also, the environment provide the ecosystem services and natural attenuation to support continuous existence of man. Ecosystem services of the environment. These are the natural services provided by the environment to ease or make man life easier for man. One of such service is the natural attenuation of the soil. We see that soil serves like a natural filter, which is why we can extract our potable water from the groundwater, because it passed through the different profile in the soil, and in the process of passing through that, it is naturally purifies, and it get to a zone where it is very safe for consumption. Also, you notice that when you have trees with canopies, and there is hot sun, you can hide under the canopy, and then the canopy tends to shield the man from the adverse impacts of the sun at that particular moment. Another important service is the absorption of carbon dioxide, that's CO2, which is a product of our respiration by plants, and then to give us the oxygen we require for respiration. All right, so the environment provides all these services to support the continuous existence of man. It is impossible to study man alone without involving the environment, because man is a component of the environment. And this interaction between man and the environment is necessary to keep the balance. You can imagine if a man exists without the atmosphere, the air, without water, without the lithosphere, without the solid part of the environment to erect its structure and to live, and then without other biotic parts of the environment. So if man, we will see that it's not possible for man to exist in isolation without the support and services of all these components of the environment. So at this stage, I would like to pause and ask if we have questions or contribution before I move forward. So do we have questions or contribution before I move forward? Before I proceed. So is can I proceed? Please, I need us to respond so I'm sure that we are still on the platform.
Yes, you
You
can
can
proceed.
proceed.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, so I'll go to the next point, which is impact of man on the environment. So we can see from the picture here that as we have more people, we use more raw materials, we use more energy, we use more land, and then we produce more waste and pollution. So this is just typically showing us the impact of what we do as people on this environment. More raw materials, more energy use, more use of the land space, and more pollution due to man activity on the environment. And because of this, we have issues like climate change, contemporary environmental issues like climate change, global warming, environmental degradation, and pollution. These are discourse that now dominate the national conversation. So these are issues that have dominated the national conversation, and we see that a lot of international bodies and then a lot of organizations, NGOs, environmental enthusiasts are now coming together to talk about these issues, which are as a result of human exploitation or human um, use of the environment. So more people with impact of with impacts like the use of more energy, like impacts of like environmental degradation, pollution, waste generation, and use of chemicals, fertilizer, and also the production of toxic waste as a result of the use of man continuous exploitation of the natural environment. Talking about the impact of man on the environment, we could see that this slide is just basically telling us about the evolution of man. In our basic geography, we talked about the early men, the Homo sapien, the Homo erectus, the Australopithecus africanus, and this is just basically doing a summary of the evolution of man from those early men to the man that we have now, and to the future man, which is more likely to function like a robot. We are still looking a lot of artificial intelligence and robotic science is also now an emerging subject or area of focus in science, whereby man we are now looking at infusion of this artificial intelligence into human activity and the day-to-day operation of man. The second picture is showing a picture, and this picture is trying to depict that yes, we have the problem of overpopulation in the sense that now we have from the early men we have just few people on earth, and now we have over 200 million people in Nigeria alone. Their population is about 200 million people, and then all over the world over a billion or more people residing or dominating the earth. So as this woman as we are increasing in number, we are also impacting on the natural resources and the environment. So these are some of the overpopulation is one of the impact of man, because now we are putting a lot of pressure on the natural resources, and then we are not using them sustainably in a way that the environment will also benefit. A lot of us we do carry on our activities without regard to the environment that is the supporting system. Another impact of man on the environment is the release of effluent or sewage pollution into the environment. You could see from this picture that these effluent are being discharged, and then this will all be discharged into the surface water, and which subsequently have impact on the marine ecosystem. The other part is talking about air pollution. This is a common sight, even from the car exhaust. These are industrial air pollution. So these are some of the things we do in the environment that also impact adversely on the environment. We have land pollution. We could say this is indiscriminate disposal on land, and then we have deforestation. We fell the trees most times to for production, for furniture, for books, for construction. So oftentimes they have to go back to the forest to fall the trees furnitures, and then to, or in summary, for our basic need, or survival. However, if we look at this, most times when we do this, we do not replant, or we do not replace the trees. We just cut the trees and then we go on with our business. Then for in forestry, we are made to know that these trees don't grow in a day. For us to have a full grown mature trees, at times it will have stayed for like 10, 20 years, and then this tree is fell in a day without replacement. So this is telling us that with time, if we continue with this unsustainable heart, we may not have enough trees again in our forest. Another impact of man on the environment is bush burning. This is controlled or bush burning. Sometimes this is done intentionally to clear some expanse of land for development. Also, we have ozone layer depletion due to release of greenhouse gases into the environment. Ozone layer is a thin layer in the atmosphere that serves as a blanket to protect the direct intensity of the sun from hitting the earth's surface. This layer also help to absorb some radiation, deflect some of the radiation back to the sun, thereby making it the earth, the environment very conducive for man. But over time, due to our activities, through a lot of our activity, we are releasing a lot of greenhouse gases that are depleting this layer, and that is why we are having this climate change issue, whereby the weather pattern is now so unpredictable, and then we have a lot of issues with our climate, our weather, and then also our well-being. Another impact is light pollution. This majorly applies to um, some people that are that are sensitive to light, and also some marine ecosystem. Some of these organisms in the marine ecosystem, their mating or incubation period is dependent on light. Some don't require this the dark hour to incubate to produce their egg, and then produce to and incubate their produce their young ones. However, most of the time we use there is excessive use of lightning. It tends to affect their reproductive seasons, or reproductive system or program. So this is a kind of pollution for people that are that are sensitive to lightning, and also to some organism in the marine ecosystem. Now we have genetic modification of most of our plants. Most of the plants now are genetically modified. We do not we now practice a lot of synthetic farming with use of chemical fertilizers to support the growth of the plant. So these chemicals also have a way of going back into the environment, contaminating or polluting the soil, and this can also run off to the nearby water bodies, and also cause harm to living organisms around that area. So these are some of the effects of man activity on the environment. We have loss of biodiversity. I mentioned before that bio means life, and that the diversity is like there are different life forms. Biodiversity is the richness of nature. This is an aspect where we have the different organisms. We have man, we have animals, we have the different plants and animals. So it's what makes the nature to be rich in its existence, having different life form. And due to activities of man, we could see that a lot of these life forms are going into extinction, We do not have butterflies like we used to have before. We have a lot of our white animal going into extinction. We have a lot of the marine organism also due to overfishing or the use of chemicals or the discharge of effluent, and also due to all these activities of man. We have due to pollution, plastic pollution. There is a study that says that by 2050, if we continue to pollute the water body like we have now, by 2050 we'll have more plastics in the ocean than than the fish. So there is a lot of loss to the different life form due to the activities of man. Also, we have pollution of the soil, the air, and water, like has been shown to us before. We have the issues of climate change and misuse of natural resources. Also, we have the issue of erosion due to cultivation, due to man altering the landscape in construction, or uprooting of plants without replacement and without restabilizing the soil. Also due to we have flooding issues, especially due to indiscriminate dumping of now for in a city like Lagos, indiscriminate dumping of plastics in the drains and other water bodies. When it rains, the plastic block impede the flow of this water, and then we have a lot of flooding around the city. Okay, so before I go to the way forward, I would like to pause again to ask if we have questions or contributions to what has been said. Any question or contribution from participants before I proceed?
I have a question, please.
Okay, sir.
Okay, my question is this: if you are to weigh the activities of man, either positive or negative, on what percentage do we have more positive or negative action of man on the environment?
Okay, thank you. So before I respond, I would like people on the platform to also to help me with that answer to that question. So, can you, if you want to rate the impact of man on the environment, on what percentage impact, and there is someone on the platform to help me. Mr. Olanrewaju Olaitan, you want to help?
Yeah, I just want to say one or two things as a kind of, let's say, my own opinion concerning the question that he has asked.
Thank you.
There's no direct measurement or yardstick to determine the extent, um, at which the impact of man has contributed, like probably negatively or positively. However, there are certain things that we can use, as a measure, which is more or less the footprint, that is the human footprint, and the um, the effects on the environment, as you said. So one of those are, the issue of global warming, right? So when you look at
Okay.
seeing some traces of global warming in the environment, then you can say that the impact of man has not really been supportive enough. Like, it's having a negative impact, on the environment, right? And aside the global warming, you also, hear about um, how would I say it? The ocean rise. You talk about change in the climate. You talk about unstable weather condition and the likes, right? So all these effects are more or less, evidence that the human activities has really, negatively impacts than, the good that we are expected, from whatsoever activities that we are doing in the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olaito Olaraju. That was a very good from your part. Thank you, sir. So, can we have one more person to talk to us about this impact? Do you think they are more beneficial? Mr. Olaraju has explained to us that there are some footprints that or some evidence that we can use to measure this impact, and based on that, do you have any other contribution? Do we have any other contribution? Okay, in the absence of further contribution, I would like to agree with Mr. Olarewaju Olaitan. Based on that, there are no direct measurement of this impact. But if we look around us and see what is happening around us, we can then say, but we can on our own be the judge of what the impact of human activity has been on the environment. How many of our landscape, natural landscape, have been invaded in the course of development, in the course of we doing our business. And then in the process of doing this, we do not give back to nature. What do I mean by that? When you clear like an hectare of land, you clear the greens and the plants and the trees to build your house. What percentage of that hectare do you use for beautification? You see that a lot of the time, even the space that we are supposed to earmark for beautification to give to nature, we put interlocking pavements, and any weed that come out, any plant that try to strive become a weed in its own habitat. So looking at this, we could see that a lot of the natural landscape has been taken over by man. Then you now begin to compare what percentage of the natural landscape still remain in its pristine condition. Also, the impact of climate change, the impact of global warming, and then the impact of flooding, and then the weather pattern can tell us for sure that yes, man activity on the environment has not been too friendly. Okay, so we go to the way forward, and then before I go to my slide on the way forward, I would like to throw it open to us. What do you think can be done? Do you have any suggestion on the way forward? What do you think should change? So I want us to also contribute to this. What do we think are the way forward to restore or to minimize the impact of man activities on the environment? What are the way forward? So I need us to.
Okay, from my own end, there's a need for behavioral, attitudinal, and lifestyle change.
Yes, sir.
So I said from my own end there, we are looking at behavioral change, attitudinal change, and lifestyle. So we need to change some of our lifestyle
Okay.
and some of our attitude towards the environment.
Can you be a bit specific, sir?
Okay, for instance, when
Can
you
you be
talk
a
of
bit
behavioral
specific?
change, let's take a waste management for example. While why do people find it hard to bag their waste? Why do they find it hard to separate their waste? Why is it that is when it is raining, that is when they remember to bring out their waste and throw it away, not knowing that waste is going to plug it in. So that behavior, people need to change their behavior, their attitude towards the environment, how to save the environment, how to make sure, yes, we dispose our waste very well. They even tree planting, the little space you have within your house, you can do tree planting. Then kind of lifestyle, there are some items you don't need that you have to buy. At the end of the day, this leads to wastage.
Okay, so
And
I'm with you, sir. I'm with you.
so that's my point. So that attitudinal change towards the environment, behavioral change. So we need to start taking caution. We need to start looking at the environment that this is the only planet we have. We don't have anywhere to go to. And we need to also think of the future. What are we leaving behind for our children? If the people in the past have been used the environment, are we going to meet it the way we have them now, the fresh air and so on? But now, just like you said, you look at everybody now, they want to build house, they're not even leaving any space. Everywhere is concrete. And meanwhile, they're supposed to plant tree. And a very good example is that tree planting you talk about. On a very sunny day, people will always love to sit under the tree to get fresh air. So I think we need to start changing our attitude towards the environment because this is the only planet we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Do we have any other contribution? Please, let's speak up. Do we have any other contribution? Okay. All right. So I got to my way forward, and I want to say that this is not all that can be done. The list is inexhaustive, but these are some of the things that can be considered to improve the interaction between man and the environment. So it is important to encourage resource recovery and recycling and to reduce over dependencies on our natural resources. What do I mean by this? When we talk about resource recovery, we talk about going to the bush to clear to clear the trees for furniture. And at the end of the day, when there is a default in the furniture, what do we do to it? We dispose it. However, the this can be refurbished, this can be and then reused, or it can be transferred to another person that would see some value in it. So oftentimes our books, after using the books, we dispose them, we trash them, but we have the option of also recovering them and taking them for recycling and taking them for recycling. But this is also not often not being explored. So these are some of the things that can actually be done. Resource recovery and recycling. We in Lagos State, they are clamoring for now for separation of waste from source. We can separate the recyclable from the non-recyclable so that we can take the ones that are recyclable back for recycling. And this will help us to reduce over dependency on natural resources. We don't have to go back at every production, at every need uh, for production. We don't have to keep going back to the environment to exploit the natural resources. We can actually reuse or recycle what is in the system, and so as to reduce the number of time we need to go back to exploit these resources. Also, it is important to discourage bush burning activities. Aside from the impact on the soil, it also have the release of these gases into the environment global warming and climate change. Using wildlife reserves and parks can create a positive impact on the ecosystem. This will help to conserve biodiversity. This will help to prevent those wild animals, and then also to have some pristine location where we can have access to nature. You know, sometimes we can go, these are places we can go to see how nature works and see nature at work. So reducing the usage of automobiles and switching to public transportation or carpooling can also help to reduce the emission of harmful gases in an environment. For example, 10 of us are going to the same location and 10 of us are going in our cars. It is what we can do is we can actually do some carpooling or do go through some public transport to reduce the carbon the impact of to reduce our carbon footprint on the environment. So these are ways of also helping the environment. And another important way is to plant more trees. There is a day in Lagos that is earmarked for tree planting, and then that is every July 4th of every 14th of every year. It's the annual tree planting day. This is a day that is earmarked for planting of trees, and also at every time there is a tree is fell, we should try as much as possible to replace it so that we'll continue to have more trees in the environment. And most important, news and tell people to do the right thing. What you know about the environment, your knowledge about environmental pollution, and then your knowledge of the right behavioral, attitudinal, or lifestyle change should be passed across to your colleagues, to your friends, to families, and to everybody, so that we can all contribute our quota to ensure that the environment is healthy and also to minimize the adverse impacts of our activities on our dear environment. So I would also like to once again open the floor for any other contribution on the way forward. Like I said, these are not just what we should do. There are 1,000 more that can be done to preserve this beautiful environment. So before I go to the next slide, I would like to open the floor for more contribution on the way forward. Can we have more contribution on the way forward? More contribution on the way forward.
Yeah, my own contribution is more or less like a question, and this because this is something we notice between the developed country and the developing country, most especially when it comes to the issue of protecting the environment, climate change, whereby
Okay.
the developed country will tell the developing country, you need to slow down the way you are doing your reforestation, the way you are exploiting your resources. But the developing country will tell them, but you are more advanced than us, you have done this, you have all the technology, why are you asking us to slow down? Meanwhile, you have cleared the environment, you have done more damages than us, but when it is our turn, why are you asking us to slow down?
So what's the question?
So the question there is, do you think there is a balance between the developed and the developing country in this aspect?
Okay, so in terms of balance, you have rightly said that one is more developed than the other. But let me allow Mr. Olarewaju Olaito. Please, let's take your comments.
Yes, ma. There's just something I want to mention concerning the question you asked, right? And
Okay.
the point is just that when we look at these developed countries and their reaction, their attitude to the environment, it's, let's say, far better than what we see in developing countries. And the reason being that we could say that these developed countries are really seeing the impacts. They're suffering from whatsoever that must have been done in the society in the past, probably maybe knowingly or unknowingly, right? But we in the developing countries, we don't tend to see, all these things happening, right? So it's more or less like it's easier to learn from experience, right? So when these people, because of the experience, they've witnessed the flooding, they've seen all sort of, bad weather, they've seen a whole lot, right? And those things are just like, unbelievable things to us in developing countries. So it is very difficult for us to understand, the impact. So we talk about the impact of man activities in the environment. Rather,
Okay.
instead of we to learn from these people and take necessary precaution, right? We are working towards, following the same path, and probably, you know, thinking that maybe we will not be the one to experience those things that these developed countries are talking about, right? So we are not really working sustainably with our operation, of which these developed countries are like, had it been they had this prior experience or understanding or the opportunity that developing countries, had or they are having now, it would have been a whole lot better, for them, because they would have done all those things and really consider sustainability, why they are driving their technology and development of their country. So I want to use this opportunity to also mention something. What is the strategy that these people are using, right? They are actually trying to integrate the components, of sustainability. You talk about the people, you talk about the economy, you talk about the planet. So they are trying to, come up with how these three components are interwoven with driving the economy, right? When we talk about circular economy, we are trying to talk about how you are encouraging manufacturer to make more money by considering the planet and considering the people. Then the manufacturer will listen to you. You are telling the people that you can save more money by considering the planet, then the people will listen to you. But the moment we are just thinking about the economy in terms of kind, like, okay, just help the planet, it will be for the benefit of everybody. You have good air, you have, nobody wants to listen to you. But the moment we try to come up with strategies, ideas that will drive the people's interest with the economy, I think we should be able to get better results and better attitude towards saving the planet from the people. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olaiton, for that contribution. And like you asked, I will agree that yes, there is no balance. One is developed and one is developing. That's a fact. And also, I also I also understand the fact that yes, we are agitating also to be developed. It's looking at it being unfair for a system to be developed and then for that system to be imposing um, I won't say sanction now, to be imposing issues or what will I call it? What to make it more subtle now. So that same system is now telling others to beware or to take caution so as not to do what they have done. So I know that yes, that is a lot of people's agitation. However, like he said, a lot of them are trying on now to integrate sustainability into their approach. There are a lot of if you look at it now in the environmental space, there are a lot of things are in place now to bring about a kind of leverage between these two systems. One of such is the carbon credit. I don't know if you've heard of that. And that is the developed country trying to offset some, trying to I want to put it for any sustainable action by the developing countries. And this they pay in forms of grants or grants. And these are usually the impact. And based on that impact, they will offset with some the equivalent. There is a way they do that. So these are things to motivate and also encourage us to do the right thing. We have the green bonds now. We have a lot of grants that is being given to the developed country to look into clean technologies and awareness. Now we are saying yes, you can develop, but we can do it right. We can do it better. We can now begin to adopt some sustainable clean or green technologies in our approach that will have minimal impact on the environment while we also develop our system or our economy. So there is this twin transition now that they are talking about. So a lot of things are put in place. Let me because Mr. Lanriwaju, let me correct an impression that it's not because they are feeling is it's global. It's whatever it is, it's a globe. And then this impact, the impact, this kind of climate change or impact we are seeing now is not as a result of what we are doing now. It's as a result of activities that has been done over the years. So invariably, that is also telling us that the ones we are doing now will definitely have an impact in the future, even though it is not immediate. And then the impact is felt all across. That is why you see everybody coming together to for treaties, for protocols, for the deliberations, international deliberations on how we can all of us can come together to combat this issue. So a lot of things are being put in place to also assist the developing country to transition in a more cleaner and greener way. Yes, we want to grow, but we want to do it in a way that is also beneficial to the environment. I hope that has been able to answer your question. I hope I've been able to answer the question. Okay. I need a response from you. I hope that has been clarified. Okay, Mr. Taiwo. Mr.
I think
Taiwo, you want to talk to us?
that has answered my question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, so we are wrapping up the class. Thank you for your time and your contribution. So these are our partners on this project. It is co-funded by the European Union, and then we have partners in Nigeria, in Ghana, and in Italy. So these are the partners. Area, if Loma, Pan Atlantic University, as Mundus, Wisi Academy, and then Sinus Fab. All right, so I want to thank us for our time and contribution to the class today, and also to apologize for the slight delay and the technical challenges from my part. And this is also to assure us that the class would starts by 5 p.m. tomorrow. We'll try as much as possible before the time to make sure that all the technical issues are resolved so that we can have a smooth deliberation tomorrow. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope to see you all and more tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very much, Elizabeth. So, one of the things that we try to do for the participants so that information is being distributed faster is to create a WhatsApp group. So, I hope that the phone number you actually inputted when you were filling the admission form is actually your WhatsApp number. So, you'll be added to a WhatsApp group, hopefully by tomorrow, so that information concerning the program, even though we are going to be sending them via mail, you can also be sending them to the WhatsApp group for better access. Okay. I don't know if that's okay with everyone.
Yes, it's okay. It's acceptable.
Okay.
Yes, it's okay.
Thank you very much for your time, and then hope to see you on the platform where we take this deliberation further, and also hope to see you in class tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
So maybe you should not use adopt a being program again. Okay.